everyone, and welcome back to Deep Space Babylon 59. I'm Captain Logan.
Data Turtle, Gold Window.
Plox, bacon egg sandwich.
Fiddle pot.
Made out Jesus.
Evershine.
That's Eric, and today...
I'm Eric.
And today we are talking about the, fourth installment of...
4 of DS9, 3 of...
And 3 of Babel because of the pilot thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got... one of the weirder episodes in first season Deep Space Nine. We're going to talk about that first because we did Bab 5 first last time. Yep. And then after that we're going to talk about an episode I liked quite a bit in Babylon 5 called Something with Purple in It. Help me out.
That's why I pulled this out, because I knew it's got the... It is Born to the Purple.
Born to the Purple. I
don't think is a good title.
Yeah, it's not a great title. I mean, it's relevant, but it's not real good.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, okay, so let's go ahead and get into Deep Space Nine, and if you're, for whatever reason, just joining us with this show, what we're doing is Eric and I are introducing each other to and watching throughout each other's favorite space station shows. So Eric had never watched any Deep Space Nine before this. I had never watched any Babylon 5, and we are coming in each fresh on one show, and relative experts relative to each other, knowledgeable on the other shows.
Well, you probably know DS9 more than I know Babylon 5.
Yeah, relative. I mean, I don't want to use the word... I don't really want to use the word expert, but for the sake of this show, one of us is a complete newbie, and the other one of us knows something about the show, has seen every episode at least once. Eric is going to tell us a little bit about the Deep Space Nine episode, since that is my show, and then when we get to Babylon 5, I will do a little bit of the synopsis for that one. So why don't you go ahead and start us off, and tell us what you thought of Babel. Babel is the name of the episode.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's almost like a bait and switch episode. Because we start and we're really focused on O'Brien and how stressful his life is, and how he's we kind of talked about how he barely has a staff, and he's personally expected to fix everything.
Yeah.
And then he starts talking crazy. And I assumed that it was because you were huffing and puffing before we started this episode. You were like, "Oh, it's this one." And I was like, No, stress did not make him say nonsense words. There's no way that Star Trek went there. And they didn't.
And they didn't, yeah.
It's a virus that was put there a long time ago.
Although, come to think of it, let me say this real quick. Wouldn't it have been smart if the reason he got it first had something to do with stress?
Or adrenaline or something?
Yeah, like there's, because it was kind of completely arbitrary, right, when people got the virus, when, and
well,
it seems like Cisco gets it real late just because he's the commander of the station, right?
And I'm not sure why. Oh, because it's airborne, that's why.
Yeah.
I'm still not exactly sure how it mutated and became airborne. That was weird.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. But they talk about it like it's like it is something you can contract from other people, and then I guess, and then in the air. But they talk about how it has like a long gestation period, or how it has like. It's different gestation periods for different people.
Well, it starts with
which is just a convenient way for some of our characters to be able to not contract it too early.
Yeah, well, and
for people to just keep coming down with it.
It has to go airborne, or I mean, I don't think it does have to go airborne, but it has to go airborne for the way that they're using the episode, or the way that they've built the episode, because it initially comes from the replicator. It's attached to the replicator, so he gets it because he fixes the replicator, and then that happens to be the replicator that Quark decides to use to make stuff for his, which no one notices that he leaves for extended periods of time and comes back with the food, because his replicators are right behind the bar.
Well, he closes, though.
But then it's like hopping. Like, we come in and there's like lots of people there.
Yeah.
But he's not making that stuff right there behind the bar.
No.
He would have to then leave and come back with everyone's orders.
And that, well... No, the way they play it is simpler than that and completely unbelievable, but for a different way than you're making it out.
Okay.
Which is we're told that I forget who says it, but someone says that he replicated. I think it was Odo. He replicated his entire menu. Is
but
what we're told.
We only have one of each thing.
Or he made like 2 or 3 or 4, and maybe he's got ovens and refrigerators we don't see, but he doesn't. So yeah. So that whole thing to me, but it wasn't that people were ordering and then he was going and getting it. That's why he was doing it off hours. Like we see him after the bar closes.
Yeah, it's just
go and do that.
I mean, when you put thought to it.
Oh no, it is ridiculous. I just wanted you to know how much more ridiculous even it was than what you were talking about. But yeah, in Star Trek, we do a lot of virus episodes in all the Star Trek shows, and they're always an epidemic like this. So you have to come up with some kind of contrivance for it to spread slowly, so that it's a mystery at first, and then this all goes back to Naked Time in original series.
Okay. Well,
and also the behavioral diseases. We do a lot of those.
I feel like because this was such a cognitive disease, it's all about the dialogue, and I feel like this really could have been something about communication.
Yeah.
And maybe even because we see like flashes of it a little bit whenever we go to the sick ward, people learning to communicate without words, and that's what the show should have been about. Or that's what the episode should have been about?
I just thought of this after you said that. Wouldn't it have been cool if they all got the aphasia and then solved the problem while they had it?
Yeah. Well, because it doesn't need to go airborne. You can just have some people have it and some people don't. And so nobody's, it's hard for everyone to communicate.
Or you just have it spread real fast. Everybody gets it in the first 15, 20 minutes of the episode.
Yeah.
And then we see our characters in... Because, I could see the other side of this. I could see somebody watching this and saying, thank God we didn't have to listen to everybody...
Sure.
Spouting
nonsense,
this nonsense speak the whole episode. But you're right. It could have been clever. And, I'm reminded of an Enterprise episode where we have a landing party that all ends up mutating into creatures that don't speak English or really anything. They're kind of cavemen, and it's really boring. It's like half an hour. It's a non-talking episode, but it's like really, really dull. But I think you could make it work and make it interesting.
Well, that's why
we do a lot of stuff with language in Star Trek. Yeah, Darmok and TNG. I'll show you that at some point. It's a thing with a guy who speaks only in metaphors, and Picard has to figure out how to talk to him and how to speak like that, or how to at least sort of kind of understand what he's talking about. So we've done that kind of thing where you have at least like one character that speaks what sounds like gibberish or nonsense, and it's not the dullest thing imaginable.
Well, and if just not everyone gets it, I think you can get around that a little bit. You would focus on the characters that can still speak normally as your viewpoint into the nonsense speak. I don't know.
I guess so. But the problem is there's no pattern to the nonsense speak, so it's not like they would learn how to communicate with those people on their level. Like when you were talking about the different people with their nonsense speak kind of sort of figuring out how to communicate with each other. It was like rudimentary sign language or something.
Yeah, right? but that's what I mean. Like that's what the episode kind of should have become. I also think there's a real big missed opportunity with Jake, because Jake gets it, and we get the one scene with him and Sisko, and that scene should have told us something about them. It should either be they don't understand each other at all, or because they're father and son and they're so close, they don't need words. They can pick up on. It needed to be one of those two things, and it was neither.
Well, and it was nothing. It was unfortunately just really generic. Oh, Sisko cares about his son. Yes, of course he does.
Yeah.
We get nothing. We got nothing out of that. Anything you liked? I guess we haven't even gotten real hard into the story yet, but
I like Odo.
Yeah.
Well, and this is weird because you've told me that he's going to have a major character shift and basically become a different character. But the Doctor, I really like the way he plays. It's earlier on in the episode when they're first kind of discovering the virus. He does that intrigued first, concerned second kind of a thing that you get with scientists and Doctor characters, where he's like, this is really interesting the way this virus works. It does this, and that's kind of cool. I really like that.
Even all the way to, I want to meet the guy who created it.
Yeah, I really like that as a character trait, but I don't know if that's actually telling me anything about him, because you said he completely reinvents in like season 2 or 3.
It's later than that, actually. But,
okay.
But yeah.
But not knowing what you've told me, I think I'm picking up on character traits.
It does, but I feel like a lot of doctor or scientist-like characters are kind of that way, and especially in Star Trek, where it is that kind of curiosity first, and then you have to remind yourself, oh yes, these are human beings we're dealing with. I mean, like certainly McCoy doesn't have that. He's like this guy. That would be the opposite of McCoy, where he's immediately to the human thing first. Well, has everyone forgotten what we're? But part of that's because you put him up next to Spock, and he's immediately going to go to that place. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that that's like a really strong prevailing character trait, but certainly
I like how he played it. I mean, like it's not a character I've never seen before.
Alexander
but, like,
Siddig plays it well. Or I guess at this point he's Siddig Athial. He changes his name later to Alexander Siddig. He makes his first name his last name. And I have his signature as Siddig Athial, which is pretty cool.
I'm trying to think of other things that really jump out at me that I liked about the episode. It's not a lot.
I guess
I didn't hate the episode, but like asking me what I liked about it is a little tough. You know what? I mean,
it is a gimmick-driven episode.
I thought all of the actors did a very good job of delivering nonsense.
Yeah.
Which must be very difficult. Even when you know what you're going to say, it's much harder because you're basically just speaking phonetically. Even saying words that you know, you're really kind of speaking phonetically. And there was no point where anyone delivered a line where I was like, you're just remembering things. I thought everyone delivered the nonsense pretty naturally, and I liked that.
And they look clueless and frustrated, and
which is a little bit of a problem with O'Brien, because he seems to be aware of what everyone is saying.
And he's not supposed to be.
Yeah, when he first contracts it, he's responding to people.
And the exposition is we sound as much gibberish as they do.
And then later, that is how we play it.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought
it's almost like we didn't know that until mid-script.
Yeah.
It could just be the way O'Brien's playing it.
The O'Brien
or they shot those scenes first and they didn't tell him enough.
The fact that it starts as an O'Brien story and doesn't end as one also feels like maybe this was a rushed script. Because
you're right.
It feels like it's going to be an episode about him. It's going to be a character-focused episode, and it ends up kind of being nobody's episode.
It's not anybody's episode. It's just a standard Star Trek. We've got to solve a problem kind of
show. It's so strange to start an episode as someone's episode, and then it doesn't shift to anyone. It's just no one's.
And I don't like that O'Brien's arc. I mean, it's not a character arc, but that his bit in it. Especially as long as we spin on it at the beginning, ends in a punchline.
And it's not funny.
No.
It's just
at least
the
replicator's
broken again.
Oh.
And like he's doing work. It's not like he's like goofing off.
Oh, that O'Brien, he's always gonna have to be working on stuff like because and part of the problem with doing that in an ongoing narrative like this, I mean, I realize that we're still very one and done right now.
He's never going to be that busy again.
You can tell we're kind of built. No, he definitely is. But the problem is, you do run the risk of, okay, next episode he better be like as tired and about to fall down as he is this episode because nothing's resolved.
Well, and it doesn't seem like anything just happened that is making him this busy. It's not.
It's supposed to have been this way all along.
This actually makes more sense as the lead-in from the pilot.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say.
Everything just got set up, and everything's not working right.
Well, you remember how much stuff was in shambles? Like they made a big deal in the first episode of the Cardassians left things in bad shape when they left, to the point of maybe they vandalized some parts of the station.
Well,
when they gave it back to the Bajorans, and so everything's not working right. And I told you last episode that we'll see a lot of O'Brien dealing with the temperamental computer and how it doesn't work like a Federation machine, and that it seems to be as indignant as the Cardassians are, which is kind of a fun thing. But again, why wouldn't we already be dealing with that?
Yeah, that wouldn't be a thing that suddenly to fix everything.
Happens.
It's like he's always been able to work on it. He just has to get.
It's because they've decided that's the arc this episode.
Except it's not.
I just mean that's his. Okay, that's a theme of it. That's his thing. This episode, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a point later where people are. I don't remember who it was. It might have been Cisco. Somebody's really stressed out and they start speaking nonsense. And I thought maybe we were going to tie it back around. That's some kind of. Somehow stress related, but they didn't not.
Yeah, it was Cisco, and that was weird too because he was like, "Oh, this darn virus," and I was like, I don't think anybody else really showed a lot of physical symptoms just before.
Oh yeah. He's like panting, and he's like, "Oh no."
And I don't know if it was like it just came on or he's been dealing with that for a while, because it is only moments before he gets the aphasia. But I didn't feel like, but I don't remember O'Brien being like oh god, I got a headache, I'm about to like. Now maybe the deal, the idea is it's fatigue or he thinks it's fatigue, but it's more actually this virus.
But we see
but I don't
other
think anybody else really has.
Yeah, we see other characters first get it.
Suddenly get it.
It's always in the middle of conversations, and it's not.
And again, they just make it really ambiguous because they want to be able to do whatever they want with it in the scene, which I don't like. So they kind of like, you can have unpredictable diseases, but this is a really specific unpredictable disease, right? Where they have the couple of things that they decide are, random and can happen at any point.
And why has no one ever contracted this before? Because it's just sitting on that replicator. This station was in use for years.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. And I don't know if there's a line we missed or something. I don't think there is.
I don't think so.
But yeah, I had that question too.
And then of course, if I had like a big issue with this episode, it's Kira's giant leap.
Well, and just the way, like, I said this while we were watching the episode to you, but if the fate of the station is in Kira's hands the way it is here, it's amazing we got past the 4th episode.
Well, just the way that she figures it out, it's the doctor that signs the death certificate on the guy that created the virus, and I don't know if it's ever communicated, but somehow she figures out that guy used to work with the guy that died, and then she calls him and she's like, you know that virus you created?
Yeah, she leads with that. And then he's like, "Good day," and he turns off the,
And then she goes to Cisco and she's like, "I brought the virus," and he immediately cut me off, and I was like, "That's not exactly what happened. It's not."
Yeah. It wasn't just that you brought it up; it was that you
accused him.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna start answering phone calls like that, or I'm just gonna start starting phone calls like that. You're that debilitating virus you created.
Here's a question. Why didn't the virus ever affect the Cardassians? Not only has it been there the whole time that we've been on the station, but it was there for years when it was still Terek Nor. We were told they created it 9 years ago. Now, I don't know if it went on the station right then.
It's at least just sitting on that replicator now.
It can't be right then, but how did it get... So somebody had to have... I'm going backwards because they don't talk about it. Conveniently, there's no discussion about this, I don't think. So the way it would have to work is some Bajoran would have to smuggle it onto that Cardassian station, which already, and as you learn more about the background of the occupation and stuff, you'll kind of wonder how even that could have happened. But some Bajoran had to have smuggled it onto the station and then put it in that replicator, and then just hoped that someone would use it, and it would. And somebody would use it, but people have apparently used it for years and nothing's ever... I don't understand that. So, it should have been, vial someplace, or, something gets broken. What am I missing?
There's some kind of technobabble about, they can tell how old it is by the degradation. Maybe it's, a thing where, they put it there, but it's not activated, but now it's decayed so much, it's just, seeping out? Something like that?
But again, you'd think if you intentionally made a virus to affect people, you would make it in such a way where when you planted it, it would do things, unless it did, and then that's what's left over from it. But then they would know about that, I would think, because it would...
What's also weird is that they say that, he chose not to use it? Well, someone put it on that replicator.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know how it got there if that's the case. Oh yeah, I forgot that they said that they chose not to use, and it's this super powerful thing. It's that old gem, the super powerful thing that we created, but we decided not to use, and then it gets in the wrong hands, and then maybe we shouldn't have made it in the first place. So I really wanted to see Garrick this episode.
Because we introduced that last episode,
but more just for the sake of the story here with the virus, I don't know if it actually affects Cardassians, and that would have told us. Maybe the deal is it got used, but it actually didn't affect Cardassians because it doesn't affect Ferengi, and it could have been also an immune system thing.
Well, and that was something else, was that it seems to affect all different species the same,
except for Ferengi.
Except for Ferengi.
And of course Odo, because he's a shapeshifter.
And I just don't... I don't know how Star Trek plays with this, but I would imagine they all have different biologies.
They do.
Why would they all get affected exactly the same way and seemingly on mostly the same timeline?
Well, the best I can figure is, at least in the case of humans and Bajorans, their physiology seems to be really similar.
But there's other races here, aren't there?
There are, and that's the thing I don't understand, is you'd think there would be at least a couple other races that maybe wouldn't have been affected. We have some token races in Star Trek where nothing affects them the same way it affects anybody else. The Vulcans are this way, certainly. Everything seems to take slower with the Vulcans. But the Ferengi seem immune to, like, everything. The Ferengi are immune to telepathy.
Like,
so it's not,
the Toydarians.
So it's not just their immune system, it's also their lobes, or their mind.
I had a minor nitpick that I was going to bring up. That wasn't like a big... Oh! Okay, so the guy at Quark's place who's complaining about his awful...
His soup or whatever?
He acts the way someone now would act if you prepared something badly. Everything's replicator done.
Right.
It's not his fault. Like, why would... He's like, you made this, you eat it.
No, he said you served it. That's fair.
Oh, I don't know.
That's fair. You know what you're serving.
Sure.
Like I kind of get that.
I just thought that was weird. And that guy had no ears. Okay, so
yeah,
I don't fully understand the Quark-Odo relationship.
Okay.
What is it that Quark is actually... Is it just that he has opened... Because it's a legal establishment, right?
Yeah.
Is it just that he has opened an establishment like that?
No. It's that he's constantly doing illegal things all the time.
Okay, well, because whenever Odo shows up, it seems like he's just sickened by the fact that the place exists.
Yeah, well, he's sickened by the fact that Quark is there and that Sisko asked him to stay.
Okay.
And he's doing all the stuff that he did when it was still Cardassian Run, and Odo was there when it was Cardassian Run. Okay. You'll see him... he just hasn't done a lot yet, but moving on, you'll see countless examples of Quark helping people smuggle stuff onto the station and trying to... trying to swindle people out of money and stuff like that. So, and he gets thrown in the brig a lot.
I'd give it a solid 2 out of 20.
Yeah, it's not great. Now there is some fun Quark here. You gotta love the bit where he's trying to speak to the aphasic people like the aphasic people.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's fun. Well, and most of the nonsense lines are really funny.
Yeah.
And they're delivered really well.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. But what's weird is, at the same time, it's not really a comedy episode.
No, and it should have been, really.
If they're going to go that way, if memory serves, and I could be wrong about this, I think maybe the TV trailer for this even kind of played it like it was going to be a comedy episode, but I can't remember.
It would have worked better if they'd gone that way.
It's so dull for an episode that is playing those scenes maybe a little bit for comedy.
And I think
they're trying to play them like those are levity scenes in a really serious, dramatic situation.
Which isn't working.
It's not working. It's really tonally
dull is really how I would describe the episode. There's and I liked it at the beginning, like all the stuff with O'Brien. Like I wasn't really sure. I'm like, this episode's not that bad. I like O'Brien. I kind of wish it was more his episode because he's just laying in bed for the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
Quark's fun. I still like Odo. It's just there's nothing here.
Yeah. There's really.
I wouldn't. I enjoyed watching it. Like it wasn't a painful watch. It just.
Oh, okay. I got the impression while you were watching it that it kind of was.
Oh no! It wasn't a painful watch. But the more it went on,
better or worse than last episode? That's a toss-up, yeah.
I don't know because I like the beginning of this episode, and I like some of the early stuff with the nonsense speak. I feel like this episode could be punched up just a little bit if there was more nonsense speak, because that's kind of funny. Mm-hmm. We don't take
advantage of it.
No, most of the time we just have the scenes of the people initially experiencing it, and that's kind of it. If we'd done a little bit more of that, it would at least be more funny and would be...
And come to think of it, given the way the episode ultimately plays, couldn't it have been any symptoms?
Yeah.
Like,
it doesn't
could have been
need to
any
be
kind of
nonsense
virus.
speak.
It doesn't need to be nonsense speak. And you'd think with that title that we would play with the idea of language, like you were suggesting earlier. Especially because anybody who sees this title when it comes out and knows their Star Trek is thinking Journey to Babel from original series, which is a really, really major important Spock episode, and it's the episode that introduces Sarek, Spock's dad. And so like when you see Babel, I'm not saying it had to be a follow-up. I'm just saying that like you're immediately thinking that it's going to be about something more interesting than it is.
Well, and you're not doing anything with communication. You're not, because I guess they could have gone the other way. Like my whole thing was that they should persevere and be able to work together through this weird language barrier. Mm-hmm. You could go the other way. You could have it be, once we lose communication, like it cripples us, and we didn't go that way either.
And
we
then,
didn't.
like Odo has to sweep in and save the day. That's how we would have done this if it was a Voyager episode. It would have been, especially if it was a later Voyager episode, because it would have just been everybody's infected except for the Doctor and Seven of Nine, and then they come together and they solve the problem. The end.
Which would have been Odo and Quark. That would have been an enjoyable. That would have been a more enjoyable episode, because Odo and Quark don't really come together till the very end.
Yeah, and it might have been cool if they had to kind of save the day. And I know that that they probably don't want to have them get along in any capacity too early. Might be the whole thing, but I might have risked it. And I'm partly saying that because, and this might be a nice segue, I'm partly saying that because I'm surprised by the risks Babylon 5 is taking early on in doing things that I might think you would want to wait on. Like they're not too concerned with, oh God, we got to pad it out. If we throw this here now, we can't do it later. They're just, it seems like they challenge themselves more with that. Like there's some stuff with Londo, especially in this last episode we just watched, where I'm like, this doesn't feel like a super like too early of an episode for him. Like some of that stuff feels like it could have been a thing they did later. And so,
well, there's some stuff we'll learn about Londo later that.
I just mean for any kind of show where you have a character that's in the situation he's in. It doesn't feel like a typical obvious third, fourth episode like Babel.
Yeah, this is just they needed an episode.
That's all I mean. Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought it was all right. I didn't hate watching it. I don't know if I want to watch it again.
I know I don't.
But it was all right.
Well, I'm glad you didn't hate it. I'm glad you're not. I'm glad you're not like, oh God, we've gone even further down than we did last episode.
No, I probably enjoyed this episode a little bit more than last episode. Just on a, I'm not saying it's any better or worse, but I probably enjoyed it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I didn't like it as much as I liked the first, or I guess the second episode. Mm-hmm. But that was no censored episode, so.
Well, let's jump into the Bab 5 episode. What's it called again?
Born to the Purple.
Born to the Purple, yeah. You might have to help me a little bit with the synopsis on this because I'm still not super familiar with some of these characters. Because we're not getting... because we're just now starting to get a little bit of screen time for some of these people. I don't remember the name, for instance, of the woman that we're dealing with Garibaldi this episode. I forget her name.
Oh, no, I've forgotten.
You can't remember it either.
I do know her name, but now that you said it, I'm like... Because I put a different name in my head because it was a different character I thought you were going to say that you don't remember.
Oh, yeah.
And now I have forgotten. I'll remember.
Yeah.
This makes me feel like a bad fan.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. But we have kind of two rivalries that we're exploring a little bit here. Yep.
Wait, before we jump to Babylon 5, something else with Deep Space Nine?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Because this is something... It's kind of in both episodes. There's a subplot in both episodes. The subplot in the Deep Space Nine episode, nothing. That guy who wants to leave because his...
Well, it's not nothing. He's the guy that tries to leave at the end and almost threatens the station. That's how they rope it in.
But
no, so and I was going to say one of the things that I guess I have to kind of get that episode is a little bit is that all the subplots they attempt to converge them.
I thought he was going to be the bad guy or something. Or at least he would be involved with the Stinger and O'Brien.
In some way, yeah.
Something.
It wasn't interesting, but it wasn't nothing. I'm just saying that it wasn't like another subplot that's just there for no reason.
Well, I feel like it is. I feel like it's there for no reason, and then at the end they're like, and he's needs to be saved.
Well, it's there for a stupid reason, a really superficial reason, which is just we've got you got me switching gears. We've got to have a direct threat to the station right now, which is weird because we already do. Everybody's going to die in 12 hours, so...
Okay, the girl's name is Ivanova. It's Susan Ivanova.
Thank you. I will never ever remember that. That's gonna take.
You'll
a while.
remember Ivanova.
That is not a memorable name to me. Okay, so anyway, so we have kind of two station rivalries. One that's been going for a while, and one that I feel like is kind of building, or kind of hasn't been there too long, and maybe isn't going to be much of a rivalry moving forward. So you've got the smaller one, the lesser one, which is her, Ivanova and Garibaldi, and they kind of come to mutually appreciate each other a lot more by the end.
I don't know if it's as much a rivalry as I think it's coming off more like a rivalry until you realize what it is, and it's just her being prickly and protective.
To a degree, but I also think that she appreciates him more toward the end than she did at the beginning. Just being protective, the "get your mitts off my console" thing is a thing that you say to somebody that kind of irritates you.
It's not "get your mitts off my console" because
no, I know that's not the line, but okay, fine. What is it?
It's what are your fingers doing on my console?
But that's my point. You say that to a person that kind of irritates you.
But I think he is irritating her because he's looking into this thing that she's trying to keep secret.
And I just got the asset because here's the thing though. I'm gonna fight you on this because she treats him like that before that stuff comes up.
Okay.
Like a little bit. They seem and it seems like a little bit friendly, but they're just not each other's type really.
Yeah.
And I think that if I'm right about it, if that's the intention, I think that's important because when you get to the end, what he has discovered about her, and what the communication anomaly was, makes them kind of gives them both an appreciation for each other, and so you go from we don't like each other to maybe we can get a drink sometime, and I bought all of that, and I thought that was really good. So the thing. This isn't even the main. This is a subplot. But I also feel the need to call it a rivalry because I think that it is intentionally here as opposed to some other episode. Because the only thing that relates it to the main story is that there's a rivalry because they're parallels. So I think it has to be. Otherwise, it feels like a really kind of tacked on thing.
Yeah.
And it's not so tacked on if that's what they're doing. But anyway, so the deal is her father is dying and is trying to communicate to her, and she doesn't want anybody to know about it, and so she's kind of hiding the transmission, and that's what he has discovered. And then the main story is about Londo, who is wonderful and perfect and just the best thing in this show. I love Jakar also, and part of course what I love so much about Jakar is his relationship with Londo, which is a thing immediately that is I hate to say, so sad. 3 episodes in, even at the very beginning, I'd say, so much more interesting than the one with Odo and Quark, but the one with Odo and Quark isn't really meant to be a really complex as complex and interwoven as this thing is, and of course the stakes are a little higher in what they're dealing with, because with DS9 it's just the Old West sheriff with the the town troublemaker, that kind of thing, where this is 2 ambassadors of different races that are of the same stature and absolutely hate each other, both the people and the races. So
and one of them was enslaved by one of the other races.
Yes, yeah, that whole thing. So thanks for reminding me about that. And then so anyway, we're playing with that a little bit, but the main thing is Londo is dating this girl who is actually a slave to I guess that guy's not a Narn. I don't know what he is.
He's just some other race. I guess
he must be working for the Narns.
Yes. Yeah. He seems to, at least in this case, he is contracting out to the Narns.
Oh yeah, because he's like a contract.
Yeah.
Like a bounty hunter or something.
Yeah.
Or kind of an information dealer maybe.
Yeah. It seems like he's just kind of like a spy for hire.
And so he's trying to get information about the Centauri from Londo, which he's using with what starts as a really stereotypical cliche thing, and that's turned on its head, and that's a lot of why I like this episode so much. Where he's got this girl that's working for him, and again she's a slave, so she's forced to do this, and she is allegedly pretending to have affections for Londo, and she's forced into the situation, and she's kind of. He's okay. Freddy's okay. It's gonna be all right. But she's being forced to kind of pretend she has affections, and then of course she actually develops them and actually likes him and hates what she's having to do. And the thing I really liked about it is that when Londo finally finds out what she's done to him in stealing information for this information dealer guy, he reacts the way anybody would, and then by the end, they still both care about each other. Mm-hmm. And I just liked how reasonable everybody was ultimately, because it is a very extenuating circumstance. It's not a mustache twirling like, oh, I've been the bad guy all along. That's kind of what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to turn out that she was like super deceptive and devious, and that she was
the wicked woman.
Yeah, and that maybe she was the one who was selling information to the Narns. That's how I thought it was going to work out. And I thought it was kind of neat that wasn't the way that it turned out, and that you could even see those two getting back together again at some point.
They kind of suggest that they might.
That they could. They probably should.
I think there's a similar character that comes up later that I think I might be remembering.
Oh, okay. Weird.
Londo has a thing for the dancing ladies.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
And that is clearly and I realize this isn't a JMS script, but that is clearly a JMS-like TOS, because that's the very Orion Slave Girl kind of thing.
Yeah. But I think something that should be noted is that the information that she's getting, it's not just like secret codes and like that kind of information.
Yeah, I was a little bit lost as to what exactly it was.
So what they explain is the reason that the Malaris, which is Londo's family, the reason he's as powerful as he is, the reason that family's as powerful as they are, is solely because of all of the dirt that they have on all the other families. And it's kind of suggested that all families have dirt on other families and they use it as leverage. And so this is just all the behind-the-scenes gossip and everything that every other family has ever done wrong. It's the foundation of this society. It could, if that information came out...
leverage is the basis of the society. That's a cool idea.
Kind of like the current, the All-Star Batman arc.
Yeah.
They all have all of that information on each other, and it's just kind of... So, yeah. So I just wanted to clarify, it's not just standard
thanks for mentioning that, because in trying to piece everybody's whatever together, it's easy to lose things, and but I wasn't 100% clear on what exactly the information was.
Mm-hmm. We get a little bit more time with Veer this episode. I love Veer. He is Londo's assistant.
Yeah. I've been back and forth on whether or not I like him, because his actor is super over the top, and I've been having a hard time deciding how much of that is intentional. And I think there's some stuff he's doing that is going too far. But by the end of it, I really liked him, and I like that everybody seems to have an understudy that's super enthusiastic and wet behind the ears and excited to get to be proteges.
Yeah, we'll also get them...
And they're playing a lot of comedy for that. I really liked that Jakar had one. That was hilarious.
Yeah, Jakar has one, and we'll also get a Minbari one at some point this season.
Okay.
That's a thing. The main three alien ambassadors also have proteges, assistants, whatever you want to look at them as. It's kind of different for each one, but yeah. But Veer's probably my favorite of the three of them. Mm-hmm. And he actually gets to kind of do something. He goes through a big arc.
Does he?
Oh, yeah.
I kind of thought maybe he would.
Yeah. Which is why I think he's maybe playing it so over the top early on.
Well, and, because I keep kind of finding analogs for different people in these shows, and it's interesting that not only is Londo, or Londo and Quark clear, obvious parallels to make, but Quark's brother, Rom, is it kind of has that that thing is kind of a good analog, for Veer, because he also kind of gets an arc down the road, and like you've seen him for like 6 seconds, maybe he shows up in like one scene so far.
Maybe he drops his kid off at school in that one episode.
Yeah, that's what it is. But it's the same kind of thing where like they're playing them up for like comedy and they're really two-dimensional, and then like he'll turn into something. And I don't know if Veer is like the way he speaks and his mannerisms and stuff change. Rom just turns into an entirely different character at one point.
No, Veer just kind of arcs.
And that's mostly because Max Grotechik played a Ferengi before, and there's like a standard way to play Ferengi.
Yeah, that you told me about that in the one episode.
Okay, yeah. And then eventually they both kind of go, because even Quark has a little bit of the remnants of that still. Because I don't know if I told you about this. We'll get back to Bab 5. Sorry, I don't know if I told you about this, but Armin Shimmerman, who plays Quark, was one of the first Ferengi in the first episode that we the last Outpost.
I think you did tell me that in one of the episodes.
But anyway, so there's like the standard way of playing that. So I'm just kind of wondering how much of like falling into what these characters will feel more like later on ends up happening with Bab 5, or if they've more solidified it, quicker than the Deep Space Nine characters have.
I don't know.
I'm curious to see how the performances change.
I feel like it's harder to tell because everyone ends so differently than they begin.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell when somebody's settling in and when that's just kind of where they start.
Well, and I'm aware that fewer characters in Babylon 5 go all the way through the show than in Deep Space Nine. I know there's a lot of turnover.
Yeah.
Or at least a fair amount of turnover.
Yeah,
but I mean, I know Sinclair leaves and then comes back, and I know it seems like there's one or two other people that like leave.
This like
and never do come back.
Pilot left and comes back.
Well, yeah, but I'm not counting the. Oh, but that's actually the person that comes back. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't counting that because that felt like a Cage thing where it's like you have characters
that
just decided not to use.
The first Doctor never comes
back. Yeah. Well, fair enough. I mean, good riddance compared to this new guy that who I like a lot better. Although I still think that guy had potential.
Yeah.
But anyway, what else should we talk about with this episode? There's a lot of kind of mystique surrounding Sinclair that I thought we might want to talk about a little bit because I don't know if I'm right about this or if I like missed things, but it felt like there was a lot of, maybe not a lot, but a little bit of Sinclair doing things kind of like off screen or behind the scenes that we're not really explaining what he does or how he does it exactly, where it's just like he is really good at getting things done, and he gets things done. Like, I felt like he was very kind of like in the background this episode, sort of just doing stuff.
I feel like he spends most of this episode standing at the arbitration meetings.
He does, but I just feel like there's a little bit. Maybe I'm just thinking of one scene and I can't remember what exactly it is. But I feel like there's like a scene where we're sort of talking about things that he's doing that we're not really seeing him do.
That's not something that's jumping to mind.
I might be wrong about that. Yeah. You and I talked about this a little bit before the show, but I thought I should bring it up here, which is the size of Babylon 5 versus Deep Space Nine seems to be a lot bigger, and I always feel like Deep Space Nine looks smaller than it's actually supposed to be, which is an observation that you've made to me.
Yeah.
I think that's very true. Babylon 5 has the opposite thing, where, well, not the opposite thing, but where it doesn't, they don't have a ton of sets. It wouldn't look gigantic except the way they talk about it, but they make a big plot point out of it's like city size.
Yeah. Well, and there's lots of there's like a shanty town underneath, and there's I like you mentioned it. There's a point in this episode where people don't recognize Sinclair as the...
Yeah, I was really surprised by that. It's like, this is the guy that runs the whole station.
But can you offhand think of the governor of your town or of your state, or
it's different
the mayor?
When you're closed off and off in space and there's nobody else there.
But it's a transient population. People are coming and going all the time.
Okay, but the person that didn't recognize him was an established.
That's true. He's that mobster guy
of a play.
He should have known.
He should have known.
You're right.
Wouldn't you think? Because I think even though we have,
you couldn't hold together through that scene with that big rhino guy.
Oh, it was so funny! I love that guy. He's hilarious. Oh, and we got the bug guy back again. And I love the bug. I love the insectoid guy. Anyway, but with regards to the scene where the guy doesn't recognize Sinclair, I realized that we've got Earth and we've got a government And I think this is supposed to be the only outpost there is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't have a lot of... But this is more fuel for my fire then. Even with all of that, if you did live on that station for any period of time, that's less like a mayor and more like the president.
Sure.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you'd think... Because there's a scene where Garibaldi has got a newspaper called Universe Today, which I love, and there's some absurdity in the show, which just gets me where I live. But it's the same font as USA Today. It's fantastic.
And he's complaining about the Dodgers.
Yes, and the idea, and they seem to be trying to make a big deal out of how things haven't necessarily changed that much. I think that's really important in distinguishing this from Star Trek. They're laying on that real thick, real early, because Star Trek is a utopia and a different and it's a very different thing later on. And also, we don't have baseball, like we've talked about that. So you get to Babylon 5, and we're making sure that people know that American culture has still kind of persevered and continue to maybe be a lot of the Earth culture.
Well, and we do that in the first episode with Garibaldi watching Looney Tunes, and things like that.
But here's the difference. There is a character in Voyager named Tom Paris who has this affinity for 20th century Americana, and he does the same thing. He watches cartoons, and he works on old cars in the holodeck, and there's all this Americana stuff he does. Early on, I thought maybe Garibaldi was just a historian of that period. I didn't realize how much. But my point is, there are other things outside of him where they're even though he's related to this one, where they're trying to make it really clear that Earth hasn't actually changed that much culturally. I think that's important.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have expected a newspaper like that. And again, it's absurd because you wouldn't have a paper newspaper.
You wouldn't do that now.
You wouldn't do that now. Like you wouldn't ship it out there. And again, like we wouldn't have necessarily been able to call that we wouldn't have it now 20 years ago. But we don't have newspapers in Star Trek. They're using data tapes. In the 1960s, that's real futuristic technology. They all look like pieces of cheese, but they're data tapes.
Are they pieces of cheese?
They're not pieces of cheese. But anyway, so the newspaper, I was gonna make a point about that. It's well, anyway, I forget what I was gonna say
Universe
about that.
Today.
But yeah. Maybe I sort of kind of made it already. It's just again. I guess I was just trying to say that that it was interesting to me that you had something like that from that feels like it's kind of out of an earlier period like that.
Yeah.
There was another thing I was going to say about that, but whatever. We can move on.
Okay.
What else do we want to bring up about that one?
Well, do you want to talk about Jakar, because he's kind of played for comedy in this episode, and early on you anticipate him being the villain of the show, kind of.
Well, sort of, kind of.
I think this is the first time we really do anything light with him.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's not fair, because he's and I think maybe this was intended, and it's a thing that I wouldn't have understood exactly until I saw this episode, where he is kind of the butt of a joke at the end of the pilot. Where Sinclair's like I put the sting in you, and this bomb's gonna go off. And you're off in 5 years.
Yeah.
That's a thing where he gets, Sinclair gets the one up on him, and it's a funny scene, and we're kind of laughing at it. We're as impressed as we are laughing. With Sinclair's ingenuity and that he's able to do that kind of a bluff. But I still think that pilot was trying to play it like Jakar was this kind of wolf in sheep's clothing. And I also didn't have enough of a sense of what the political situation was, so I'm kind of more suspicious and not as suspicious simultaneously of everyone in the show at this point. Where it's such a shade of gray kind of thing. Anybody could kind of turn on each other at any time based on the politics of their worlds and stuff.
Well, and we get the unifying factor between Londo and Jakar in this, which is women.
Yeah.
We see them drinking together, and he's like, well, at least we can agree that, like, females are great.
Ladies are awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then that guy hits on that. And then that guy hits on Jakar's assistant.
That was so funny.
It's a little weird.
Which, maybe this is a horrible thing to say, I needed that for later. Because when we see her again, I needed that scene to know for sure she was female. Because under all that makeup, that's tough.
Okay.
And it was really... It was really clear in that first scene.
Mm-hmm.
When she was talking, but
not
for
so much when she's sitting at the table
reason,
later.
when she's sitting at the table later, even though she talks, she's in a little bit of a lower voice, and I wouldn't have been able to tell it was because I had to remind myself of the same character. For a second, I was like, "Oh yeah, she's female, and she's that character from earlier." So I was really glad we had that scene.
Yeah,
because I needed to know that.
Maybe that's why it's there. Maybe they had the same fear.
Yeah, maybe so.
But
anyway, I really like this show so far.
It's good. I'm glad you like it.
I don't have a whole. I don't have complaints really. I think this is a super solid episode. The only thing I would complain about really at all is there's a little bit of hack writing, I think, in the dad dying scene. I think the performances are okay. I think she's great.
I think she's doing really good.
And I think he needed to have watched the previous episodes they shot because he doesn't.
He showed up for a Mexican soap opera.
He doesn't know what show he's in.
No.
I don't know that he needs to necessarily, but yeah, he doesn't know what show
and the
he's
way
in.
she's acting, I get the impression she's acting off of nothing. Like, that scene's probably not shot yet, and she's reacting against a wall. Or someone reading the lines.
Well, that's how that's always shot.
Yeah.
When you have somebody on a monitor, that's how it's always shot.
Yeah.
Somebody reads the lines.
But she's doing a really good job off of nothing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I think so. I'm glad to have seen some of her, because she's got definitely acting chops.
Yeah. And she's got more coming up.
She's got
I don't know when we finally get to, like, her episode, but...
Honestly, she kind of reminds me a little bit of, like, later Kira. Because she's got that really no-nonsense thing, but she, like... There's this veneer, but then underneath there's vulnerability, and she's like she puts on a brave face, but she's not wholly lacking in femininity and stuff. Mm-hmm. And she's like been through some stuff, and she's had a rough past. And that's all Kira later on when she stops being irritating.
We mentioned it last episode, which probably makes sense. This is the first episode not written by JMS that we've gotten to. He's back next episode.
Okay.
But this is Larry DiTilio, who I know from Beast Wars, but he's friends with JMS going back to, I think, He-Man. They work together on, like, animation stuff. So you were commenting...
It's crazy to think he was working back that far.
Oh, yeah. Well, remember, he does Real Ghostbusters.
I know, yeah.
But you commented how it feels so similar to JMS's. That's probably just because they've worked together. They've worked together for a while.
Well, and who knows who's influenced whom the most. I mean, they could just kind of have rubbed off on each other quite a bit. I mean, there's a lot of great throwaway, comedic lines in this, and probably the most memorable, and it works as a callback line. I was a little surprised that I bought it. You don't give away the homeworld. I really like that.
Yeah.
That was really funny. That's a callback thing, where and is also a thing I think that's meant to show that Jakar and Londo aren't so different. Mm-hmm. Where
that even the whole cultures aren't so different.
Yeah.
Because she basically has the same reaction as Veer.
Yeah, and like they have the same jobs, and for their own worlds, they're after some of the same things. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's all really important. Where at the end of the day, those two are more alike than they are similar, than they are dissimilar, and how often is that the case with rivals? And it's why they challenge each other. Is that they see things in each other that the other person. That they have, and they see the strengths and the weaknesses, and that makes it difficult to beat them because it's like you're fighting yourself. But Jakar says it, or excuse me, Londo says it to his underling, and then Londo does it, or then Jakar does it later. Don't give away the homeworld. I just love that. I couldn't believe, I thought that was almost a stroke of genius in that scene where he goes, well, fine. I'll give it to my underling, and then they can both duke it out. Bye, and then they're both just like, yay, we get to be diplomats.
Yeah.
It's a really solid episode, and glad to get some more what's his face Garibaldi stuff because Garibaldi, yeah, because you like that guy a lot.
He's my favorite,
and he's been fun, but he hasn't gotten a ton yet. So
yeah, I don't know if he ever gets a ton. I just like him.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I mean, he has things to do. He becomes more involved.
Yeah, I mean, I keep assuming he'll get an episode at some point.
Yeah, he does. He gets some good episodes. But as the show goes on, we less and less do. One of the things I think is going to be interesting as we move forward is, unlike Star Trek, because this is so serialized, I have trouble keeping track of what's in what episode kind of thing after season one, because season one's a little bit more episodic.
But DS9 does exactly that.
Okay. So
because once we get like DS9 is my sore spot for episode titles, because once we start getting into the arcs,
so like I know
Garibaldi
Garibaldi gets to do lots of great stuff. I don't know if there's like a Garibaldi episode.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is somewhere in season 1. I'm just not thinking of, but because I think everybody at least gets one. Franklin gets one. The Doctor.
Cool. Cool, because I like that guy.
Yeah. It's my favorite episode of season 1.
We haven't seen him in 2 episodes.
No, he was introduced last episode, wasn't
Was
he?
he?
Wasn't last episode the one where he was introduced in?
I thought that was the previous one.
We're only on 3.
No, I know. But I thought he was... Oh, no, you're right.
Yeah,
that was the previous episode. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess I feel like we've done this again since that last time, but of course we obviously have not, because this is us doing that. Anyway, everybody, thanks as always for watching. We sure appreciate it. And we will see you again with another one next week. Anything else we should bring up that we didn't talk about? No? Are you good?
We see the Centauri ships and their purple and ostentatious, like, Londo dresses.
Oh, yeah.
The files are referred to as purple. Obviously, Londo's coat is purple. That's going to change.
Oh, is it?
The purple...
Because they're making such a big deal out of that.
Purple's intentionally chosen because they're clowns. They're no longer the kings of the universe like they once were. It's very ostentatious.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the purple thing is actually important a little bit.
Cool.
And I just remembered we saw a ship and it's bright purple. But other than that, no.
All right. Well, thanks again for watching, folks. We sure appreciate it. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
See you again next time.